Good day, folks. Welcome to the Opio Rules free training today. So, today we'll be trying to answer three main questions, beginning with what are the challenges in IP address management and rogue device detection? Then we'll be trying to answer why does your network need an advanced IP and rogue device management solution in place? And once we've answered that, we'll explore how Oputils helps you in this process. So without further ado, let's start with what are the challenges when it comes to monitoring IP addresses and rogue devices in your network. So when we say about the challenges, the very first challenge is the whole management process itself. Because traditionally network admins rely on conventional methods like spreadsheets or homegrown tools such as CLI queries, pings, and trace routes to keep track of their IP addresses. While there is nothing wrong in that, in larger networks that have more than hundreds or even thousands of IP addresses, the manual tasks required to manage our IPs and rogue devices can be quite tedious and are prone to error. So, even a tiny human mistake can cause cascading network issues, which can be easily avoidable if you have an automated solution in place. So, the first challenge we see is the management process, which have been largely depending on the manual work of the network admin. The next challenge is the visibility. So today's networks are not confined within the four walls of the organization. It is widely distributed, remote, and it is complex in nature. So without the right tool that gives you visibility into how your network is structured, distributed, or mapped, it can be quite a challenge to manage your IPs and rogues. And then we have the security concerns. IT teams today consist of at least five people or even way more than that. And we also support advanced concepts like buyout policies, which allow end users to bring in their own device and connect it to the organization's network. But the problem we see here is the security concerns. Network admins need to have control over who and how can your network be managed. They also need to control and see the new devices entering into their network, block certain devices if they seem to be malicious, and so on, in order to secure the network from any unintended risks. The next challenge is the tracking. So, when we say we have to manage IP addresses, traditionally it is done with manual data updates. So, the network admin collects the data about the IPs and then he manually updates it into the spreadsheet. So, when they do that, there is a lack of real time data tracking. So, the network admins cannot know the utilization and availability status of their IP subnets or supernets in real time. So, tracking becomes quite a challenge in this case. And finally, we have the challenge of troubleshooting your network without having an alert system in place, without having a system that continuously monitors your IP addresses or the new devices entering into your network and alerting you in case of an issue. You might not be aware of an issue as soon as it rises in your network. So this might lead to costly network issues such as a downtime or a cascading set of network issues. So network admins require a proper alerting solution and a set of network diagnostic tools to quickly and easily troubleshoot any issue that might arise in their network. So, this is just some of the challenges the admins face, and that leads us to implement a proper IP address and switchport management solution, which also gives you a better capability when it comes to managing your network resources. So, why do we need a management solution? Because it gives you a centralized visibility and control, which, as we discussed earlier, is quite crucial in case of larger networks that are distributed or span across tens and hundreds of subnets and more. So, centralized visibility and control is quite a need which is satisfied by deploying a network management solution. We then have the advanced features that come with it. And the most usable feature with implementing network management solutions is their automation capabilities. With the right automation capabilities in place, network admins are, have an ease of doing their work since most of the manual task is automated and it's error free. Also, these solutions offer resource tracking and mapping, which is quite crucial when it comes to understanding what is happening in your network in real time. So it tells you how your network resources are being used, how many resources do you have at hand, and how many resources are there that you can potentially use in the future. It also has enhanced network security because most network management solutions, such as OpUdels, helps you to reinforce your network security with capabilities like role-based access control for the network admin team and rogue device management for the network in a whole. And finally, it gives you instant alerts and granular reports. So, as we discussed earlier, in case of an emerging issue, these solutions are capable of proactively tracking an issue and alerting you before that issue can cause or wreak havoc in your network system. So, these is just a gist of the need of to why you need to implement an IP management and rogue device solution in place. So, how does this help your network? So, how does implementing an IP address management and rogue device solutions such as OpUdels help your network? Well, meet OpUdels. So, OpUdels has several modules such as the IP address manager, switchport mapper, and rogue device detector. These three modules helps you keep a complete eye and a complete control over the crucial network resources such as IPs, switchboards, and the new devices entering your network. This way, you can be assured that the core building blocks of your network, such as your address space, is under your control and you know what is happening in that. Be it the utilization, be it an IP conflict, or be it a rogue device entering into your network. You have the complete control and you have the ease of carrying out tasks of managing these resources. Also, OpUtils comes with 30 plus network tools. So these tools simplify carrying out day-to-day network tasks, be it diagnosing a particular issue or be it checking the availability status of a device and so on. Also, OpUtils gives you instant alerts and reports, and it also comes with an integrated mobile app so that you can be in the know of what's happening in your network wherever you are. Finally, OpUdels gives you the role-based access controls, which is a feature that enables you to configure who can access your OpUdels console and what level of access do they have to your console. So this way you can ensure So this way you can ensure that you do not have unauthorized data being exposed to certain people. So if you have a set of confidential or critical data that you do not want to be exposed to certain network admins, you can easily restrict their access with role-based access control. So this is just a gist of what OpUdels can give you. And so let's dive into the details of several modules in OpUdels, beginning with a simplified IP address management, switchport mapping, and utilization tracking. And then we'll discuss about enhancing security with OpUdels rogue device detection module. Moving on, we'll be talking about network monitoring with OpUdels, and then we'll explore the OpUdels network toolset. And finally, we'll be talking about the schedules, reports, and alarms option available with OpUdels. So let's get started. Let's start with the IP address manager. So what is OpUdels IP address manager and what does it have to offer you as a network admin? So the first capability OpUdels IP address manager offers is the reduced complexity. So when we say that you have to monitor a network that has more than hundreds or even thousands of IP addresses, the biggest complexity comes in managing IPv4 and IPv6 addresses together. So you need separate mechanisms in place to discover them, add them to your management console, and ma- have strategies in place that helps you manage these two versions of IPs in tandem. But with Opurals, all it has is just a click. So once you've discovered your IPv4 or IPv6 address, Opurals automatically starts to monitor them. So all you have to do is just add these two IP versions, and Opurals does the rest for you. So be it discovery or continual scanning, periodic data collection and updates, Opurals does the work. It also has a dashboard widgets for the IP address manager module in which you can easily at a glance view the crucial or critical metrics with managing your network address space. And Opurals also has options like scan automations, which we'll be seeing in the later part of the training. Opurals also gives you the IP hierarchy and grouping capability. So if you have IP groups within your network or different subnets that you would like to group or even supernets, Opurals gives you the capability to group and manage your IPs as it is in your network. It also increases reliability with automated data collection and updates, as I said earlier. And it also gives you real-time IP status and utilization metrics. So Opurals tells you if your IP is being used, if it is available, or if it is transient. And it also tells you metrics like what is the utilization status of your subnet, how many IPs do you have at hand, and more. So we'll be looking at it when we look into the product in a few minutes. And then Opurals tells you the who, what, and when of IPs. So with Opurals, you can click and understand a detailed IP snapshot. This snapshot tells you where your IP is, who's using your IP, the MAC address, the system location, and more. And finally, Opurals gives you historical data tracking. So it tells you how your IP has been used over a period of time, what are the MAC addresses that have been using your IPs, and more. And not just that, you can do much more with Opurals by adding custom columns, which helps you in case if you want to have a particular data that you want to monitor along with the default columns available with Opurals. It also gives you capabilities like global search, which helps you to search a particular IP across your network right from your console. And Opurals comes with a pretty comprehensive DHCP server scope monitoring capability that helps you monitor your DHCP servers in tandem with the IP address space, and it has Active Directory integration and much more. So for now, let me take you to the product and let's have a look into the IP address manager module. So right now, as you can see, I'm inside my IP address manager module, and I've added a supernet and a number of subnets to it. So adding these IPs to Opurals is not a difficult task. You can easily do that by the options available, be it adding an IPv4 subnet, a supernet, a DHCP server, or an IPv6 subnet or site. So once you've added the details and entered the details and added to your console, it's all easier from there. So once you've discovered your IPs, how do you filter and manage your IPs? So Opurals gives you two options such as the tree view or the donut view. The tree view, you can group IPs based on their hierarchies. For instance, you can see I've grouped my subnet under the supernet that is in my network. So I have a supernet, and then I have a default group in which I've grouped all the subnets that I need to manage at the same time under a default group. So you can easily create groups and navigate to your subnets or supernets right from your tree view. And then we have the donut view. The donut view comes in handy if you want to find a particular IP based on its network attributes. So be it the DNS status, the Active Directory status, or the NIC type of an IP, you can easily filter out these IPs by just clicking on the network attribute that you want to filter out based on. So going back to the tree view, let's see how you can drill down to the IP level details. So right now I'm in my supernet and I'm going into a particular subnet within my supernet. So clicking on the subnet summary tab tells me in a gist as to how the availability and the DNS status of the subnet is. So it tells me details like the subnet has a 3.94% utilization, which means that almost 10 IPs are currently being used and the other IPs are transient in state. And now if I want to drill down into the IPs, I can do that easily with the IP details tab that takes me into details of all the IPs within that subnet. So it tells me details like the MAC address of the IP, the IP DNS status, the DNS to IP resolution, and so on. So clicking on a particular IP within that subnet gives me a snapshot of that IP. So it tells me, like we've discussed earlier, details like system name, system description, location, and so on. So since this build I'm showing you is a demo setup, right now most of the details are hidden. But if you are running this, downloading an oputils and running it in your network, all these fields will be populated automatically by oputils. So that's an advantage that you can drill down from supernet to subnet to individual IPs in your network with just clicks. And then we have the IP history tab, like we discussed earlier, which gives you an idea of how the IP has been used over a period of time. And then we have the IP alerts tab that tells you, that keeps track of all the alerts that have been raised by managing your IP. So it tells you the alert generated time, the alert type, and the comments on the nature of the alert. So this way it is easier to keep track of the issues that have been raised, to understand how your IP is being used, to drill down to particular IPs in your network. Other than that, you can easily manage your IPs right from your console with the edit IP details option oputils offers. So once you click on this option, you can manipulate the availability of the IP. And if you want to, reserve a particular IP to be allocated statically, you can do that by setting the reservation status as not reserved or reserved. And you can also authenticate the IPs, add alias names and asset tags names, and more. So managing your IPs from your console is pretty easy with oputils, since it offers details like editing your IPs or filtering your IPs and so on. So this is just a very, very short introduction into how the IP address manager module works. But if you want to know in detail how it can be used in your network, I'd encourage you to set up a personalized live demo with our product experts. So all you have to do is send a little message in that chat panel and our team will get back to you and you can have a detailed insight into this module at any convenient time of yours. So let's move on to the next module, which is the switchport mapper. The switchport mapper module of oputils helps you manage your network switches and ports. So in case if you're running a network with hundreds of switches and hundreds of ports connected to them, the switchport mapper module simplifies this task by allowing you to automate the process of end-to-end network mapping. So the first capability it offers is obviously the end-to-end network mapping, where you can view real-time switch status and connectivity details right from your oputils console. You can also trigger switch port mapping on demand from your console. So this is helpful, especially when if you have made a change with a particular switch or a port in your network and you want it to be reflected in real time in your oputils console, you can easily click a button and oputils scans that switch and it updates that in your console. And it also gives you easy tracking with visualizations. So you can avoid the whole manual legwork of going to the switch, marking which port is connected to which slot of the switch and more, because oputils helps you to visualize the switch port relation with a capability called the port view. So we'll be looking into it in a few more minutes. And oputils also gives you grouping and automated scanning. Just like how we saw in the IP address manager module, you can group your switches as in your network in your oputils switchport mapper module as well. So once you've grouped your switches, you can also automate the scan scheduling so that you can set up custom scan schedules for automated periodic data collection and updates. Oputils gives you in-depth switch port details. So you can view, a detailed port snapshot and its utilization metrics right from your console. So this port snapshot helps you understand how a port is being used, whether a port is up or down, what are the connected MAC, and also details like whether the port is connected to multiple MAC addresses or to a virtual IP and more. And not just that, Opurals helps you simplify this whole process with its search and filter capabilities. So let's have a look at the capabilities we just discussed in the product. So right now we are inside the switchport mapper module, and as you can see, we have the tree view and donut view here as well. So clicking on what group of switch you want to manage, it takes you to the switches in that particular group. So the switches tab gives you a basic insight into what is the name of the switch, the IP, the DNS name, and also metrics such as the number of switches that are used, available, transient, the utilization percentage, and more. It also gives you the scan status. So right now it says that one of my scan has failed while others have been successfully scanned. Now, if you want to trigger a scan again, you can do that by selecting the switch which you want to scan and clicking on the scan option that Opulence gives you. So this way, it easily scans and instantly updates the data in your console. So scanning switches is made easier, and not just that, other than the on-demand scanning, Opurals also gives you an automated periodic scans, which you can do by scheduling your scans. We'll be seeing that in the later part of the training today. So let's move on to the ports. So now that you can drill down to switch, you can also drill down to the ports and inspect their details. So as you can see, Oputals color codes your ports. So if your ports are connected with multiple MACs, they are color coded and in a subtle lime yellow. And if your ports are stacked, they're coded with gray. And if your ports are connected with a virtual IP, they are coded with orange and so on. So clicking on what filter you want to search. If you want to search a port, you can just click on it and Oputals displays that result to you. You can also perform certain actions on the ports, like administratively disable an interface, or if you want to enable an interface, you can do that as well. And you can also modify the if alias name and manage or unmanage ports right from your console. And clicking on to further inspect the port, if say a port is connected to multiple MAC addresses, clicking on the more button tells you all the MAC addresses that are connected to a ports. And if you've set up your Oputals, it also tells you the IP address, the DNS name, the device type, VLAN ID, and so on of all the MACs connected to your ports. So now if you want to filter, Oputals gives you a filter option, which you can use to filter the ports based on their network attributes. But you can also filter the ports or search for the ports using the global search option Oputals offers. So this way it becomes simpler to search and manage hundreds or even thousands of ports you can be managing using your Oputals console. And as we said earlier, Oputals helps you to visualize the switchboard connection. So how does this work? It's quite simple. All you have to do is click on the port view option, and hovering over the port slots tell you which port is connected to which switch and the details of the connected port. So this way it becomes easy to map and visualize different network switches and their connected ports. As in the IP address manager module, Opurals also gives you the port history. So with the port history tab, you can understand how your network ports have been used over a period of time, and the port alerts tab gathers and tells you the different alerts that have been raised in managing your ports. So this way it becomes quite simpler to manage even hundreds of ports right from your Oputals console. All you have to do is discover the switches and manage the ports, view the visualizations in case you want to have a clear picture, and look out for alerts that might be raised in case of an issue. So this simplifies the whole process of switchport management with Oputals. Moving on, let's have a look into one of the interesting modules in Oputals, which is the Rogue Device Detection module. I call it interesting because it helps you immensely when it comes to ensuring your network security. Because why do you need this module to begin with? Why do you need a rogue device detection module? Well, our networks are evolving, and there is no denying that. And when we say your network is evolving, it is scaling across newer technologies and policies, and it's incorporating hundreds of user devices. And all this leads to several challenges with network management. And one such challenge being the security threats and vulnerabilities of allowing user devices accessing your network. This challenge of security threats and vulnerabilities can be quite difficult to tackle without a proper rogue device detection and mitigation solution in place. So, this is where the OpUtils rogue device detection module steps in. It helps you detect unauthorized network access. So, let's just say your network supports buyout policies so that your end users can bring in their own device and connect to your network. OpUtils continuously scans your network and tells you all the new devices that are being connected to your network. So it helps you to detect unauthorized network access, which might be devices that are malicious or suspicious in nature that has just connected with your network. So by OpUtils displaying to you the list of all the new devices, you can authenticate devices and assign status to them. So this can be like verifying and validating the devices and marking their status as trusted devices, guest devices, or rogue devices. This helps you prevent network intrusion by automatically triggering periodic subnet and router scans. OpUtils also identifies ARP spoofing and notifies you instantly in case of an issue. But if there are new devices that you want to import, that is the devices that you are aware of and the devices you are adding to your network, you can also do that by importing new devices as per need with OpUtils. You can do that by network discovery, Active Directory scans, and through CSV file imports. So this way, OpUtils helps you simplify the whole process of rogue device detection and mitigation. So let's have a look into the module. So under rogue device detection, you can see that my setup has detected a number of new devices that have entered my network. So now I can decide what I want to do with these devices. If I think a particular device can be trusted and can be, allowed to access my network without any issue, I can do that by marking the device as trusted. But if I think that no, this is a guest device, so I want to give it an access for just a limited period of time and not more than that, I can do that by marking the device as guest. So once you click on mark the device as guest, OpUtils allows you to configure the guest validity period. So until this period, the device is allowed to access your network as a guest, and OpUtils keeps it under the guest list. And then, if you think that this device is suspicious, it can be a threat to your network security, you can easily mark the device as rogue. Or if it is a switch port, you can choose to block or unblock that switch port right from your console. So once you've sorted your devices as trusted, guest, or rogue, OpUtils shows them under the particular order you've sorted it. So you can see I have 5 devices which are trusted, and these devices are free to access my network no matter what time they enter. Now I have 4 devices as guest. So remember, when we configure them as guest, we always assign a validity period to these devices. But it looks like all of my devices, the validity period has expired. So what can you do now? If you think this device is trusted and it can be, allowed to access your network, you can again choose to mark the device as trusted right from the console. But if you think that, it's still a guest device, but let me just extend the validity period, you can also do that with the option of configuring guest validity period. But if you think that this device is neither a trusted or a guest device, but it can be marked as rogue, you can go back and mark this device as rogue. So OpUtils gives you the flexibility of authenticating and keeping track of your devices and extending or changing their validity based on the change of your network. So this keeps you in flow with all the devices that are connecting to your network, and it also gives you complete control to filter and authenticate these devices as per need. So this is a gist of what the rogue device detection module in OpUtils can help you achieve. So let's move on to the networking tools within OpUtils. So what are the different networking tools OpUtils offer? There are 4 main networking tools, starting with the bandwidth monitor. And then we have the config file manager, the network monitor, and Wake on LAN. So what does the bandwidth monitor tool do? The bandwidth monitor tool provides real-time network traffic of any SNMP device that is being connected to your network. So this tool helps you keep track of the traffic within your network devices, being the SNMP devices. So it also tells you an interface and device level bandwidth usage details, and the bandwidth utilization of the device displays a comparison graph of individual traffic details of the interfaces. So as you can see in the screenshot that I've attached for your reference, the bandwidth monitor tool in OpUtils gives you the real-time interface speed, the NOT volume, the NOT utilization, and it also helps you to poll the device on demand. So this way you can have a quick look into the bandwidth utilization of your network and track who's consuming what amount of bandwidth within your network. So that's the bandwidth monitor tool for you. And then we have the config file manager tool. So OpUtils gives you a config file manager tool that works with Cisco configuration files. So it enables Hazel-free config file modification and uploads to multiple devices. So with this tool, you can take backup of running and startup configurations from the Cisco devices, and you can compare the configuration files of device to another. So if you have 2 different configuration files, you can compare them with this tool, and you can understand what changes have been made so that you know the baseline of the changes that are being made to the configuration files in your network. So it helps you to easily add, modify, and delete the changes. It helps you to take configuration backups, store them, and right now this tool works for Cisco devices, so it can be helpful when it comes to managing the configuration files within your network. We then have the network monitor tool, which OpUtils offers you to ensure that you know that all your critical devices in your network are available. So what does this tool do? It helps you keep track of crucial network devices availability and response time. It helps you set optimal response time thresholds and get instantly alerted in case of a violation. So you can set thresholds for, the optimal values of the critical devices within your network, and OpUtils continuously monitors these devices for the set threshold, and in case of a violation, it instantly alerts you. It also automatically escalates the response time alerts with the email alert escalation feature. So I'll take you inside the product, and let's see how you can set up the thresholds and how the alert escalation feature works. So going on to the settings of a network monitor tool, you can see that we have an alert rule tab. So in this tab, you can select the device that you want to configure the alert for, and you can set the criteria. So if there is just one poll missed, you can say it's critical, and if the response time is greater than 300 milliseconds or more, you can say that there is a warning. So you'll have to look into it before it becomes much more critical of status. And you have an healthy criteria, which means that the response time is just below the warning threshold value. Also, OpUtils helps you to configure the email alerts. So if you enable email alerts, the alerts, you can choose the criteria in which you want to be notified. Like you can choose if you want to be notified just when a device is critical, or just when a device is in the warning condition. You can do that. You can add as much as emails that you want to be escalated to, and you can also set up the alert escalations rule. So this way you are in the know of all the critical devices in your network, and whether they're available, healthy, and if they're responding to you in the set response time. So the network monitor tool helps you in this process. And then we have the Wake on LAN tool. So what does Opural's Wake on LAN tool do? In a single line, this tool helps you to simplify the implementation of the Wake on LAN technology in your network. So you can view real-time device status right from your console. So if you have hundreds of devices, you can group devices requiring similar wake-up routines. So say you have 50 devices that need to be booted every morning at 8:30 a.m. You can do that by creating a group of all these devices, and with just a click, you can wake them up on demand, or even set up a wake up schedule to wake them up periodically. So you can trigger individual device or device group wake up with just a click, and you can automate device wake up with schedules. So this is the Wake on LAN tool Opurals offers, and you can find the tool below the networking tools. And in the Wake on LAN tool, you can see I have 6 devices and 2 device groups, and it tells me whether the device is up or down, and I can also add as much as devices as I want to. So this way, I'm in control of when a device has to be booted and when a device has to be shut down. So this simplifies, like we said earlier, the process of booting devices within your network. Now let's move on to the networking toolset. Opurals offers you a comprehensive networking toolset which has more than 30 plus network utility tools in a single console that helps you carry out the day-to-day network tasks with ease. So what are these tools? Well, you have address monitoring tools if you want to understand how your network addresses are being used, and then you have the network monitoring tools, and you have the network diagnostic tools, the SNMP tools, and the Cisco tools. So let's just go into the product and have a look at the different tool sets we have at hand. So as you can see, I'm inside the module and I have a number of ping tools, starting from the basic ping to proxy ping and traceroute tools. So if I have to, carry out a quick ping, these tool sets come in handy. And then I have the address monitoring tools. So the address monitoring tools helps me carry out my day-to-day network address space monitoring task with ease. So I have tools like MAC Address Resolver, DNS Resolver, and MAC IP List. For example, let's have a look into the MAC IP List tool. So the MAC IP List tool gives you a list of all the MAC addresses and their associated IP addresses within your network. So it's basically a list of all the MAC IP relations within your network, and you also have tools like DHCP Scope Monitor, DNS Resolver, and more. So this helps you manage your network address space and carry out the day-to-day activities when it comes to running an effective network address space. And then we have the network monitoring tools, which includes tools like Network Scanner, Port Scanner, System Explorer, TCP Reset, and System Details Update. Most of us would be quite familiar with some of the tools like Port Scanner and System Explorer, but Opurals also offers you tools like System Details Update, which helps you to remotely update the details of systems in your network right from your Opurals console. So you can just add the details and specify what details need to be updated, and once you do that, Opurals updates the system details. And then we have a bunch of tools called the SNMP tools. So it starts with the MIB browser, the SNMP graph, SNMP walker, and more. So these tools help you to easily manage and carry out basic operations when it comes to having your network MIBs and network nodes. So as you can see, I'm right now inside the MIB browser tool, and it tells me the different objects, the SNMP nodes and MIBs within my network, and I can carry out basic operations like get next, table, clear, and more. So it's not just that, it also has tools like Community Checker, Trap Receiver, SNMP Graph, SNMP Walker, and so on. So your day-to-day network tasks that includes, SNMP entities can easily be carried out with this tool set. And then we have a couple of tools specifically for the Cisco devices, which includes the device scan and the device explorer. So with these two tools, you can inspect your Cisco devices in your network. So these are specifically for the Cisco devices. And finally, we have a bunch of other tools, which includes WMI query tools, CLI query, forward trap, forward syslog viewer, and more. So this is just a gist of the tool set that is available with OpUrules, and that brings us to the schedules, the ports, and alarms capability that OpUrules offers. So why do you need this capability to begin with? Why do you need schedules, the ports, and alarms in an IP address and switch port management solution? So the scan scheduling option with OpUrules helps you to easily update the IP address and switch port statuses automatically. Because once you discover your IPs and switch ports, you need not go back to your console and click a particular button or trigger a particular command to continually keep updating the real-time status of the resources. So all you have to do is set up a scan schedule. You can specify like, hey, I need these group of IPs to be scanned every day, and I need a particular group of IPs to be scanned just once a month. You can do that by setting up a scan schedule, and once you've set up a scan schedule, OpUrules automatically triggers periodic scans at set intervals, and it updates the status of the resources. So this helps you to stay in the know of your IP addresses, your switch port status, continually check your network and detect rogue devices, and you can also scan your routers for the MAC IP relation. You can set up schedule at your convenient time, and it can be something like in a minute or hourly, daily, weekly, monthly basis, or just once. So scan scheduling automates the data collection and update part when it comes to managing network resources. And then we have the notification alerts. So what are these and how does this help your network? The notification alerts in OpUrules is a predefined set of alert scenarios. So once you enable any of that scenario, OpUrules continuously monitor your network for that scenario. And if that is there, OpUrules alerts you instantly. For example, say you want to monitor your IP address space for IP address conflicts. So all you have to do is go to the OpUrules alert scenario and enable the IP conflict scenario. And once you enable that alert, OpUrules automatically alerts you in case of an IP conflict. Not just that, it also tells you the nature of the IP conflict, the IPs in conflict, and the MAC address using that. So this helps you to easily look out for emerging network issues, and all the scenarios are preset. So all you have to do is just a one-click enable, and once you enable the alert scenarios, you get email and syslog-based alerts of that scenario. So it also has options for setting up threshold-based alerts. For example, if you are monitoring particular subnet and you want to be alerted if that subnet has crossed 75% utilization, so you can set up thresholds for that, and OpUrules alerts you on that. So let me take you to the product and let's have a quick look into the scheduling and the alert capabilities of OpUrules. So right under the settings options, you can see I have a number of settings available to me. So let me just say I have to schedule a scan schedule for a number of IPs in my network. I can easily do that by clicking on scheduler and create a new task in which I have to give a task name, specify what kind of task it is. Like I said earlier, OpUrules helps you to manage IPv4 and IPv6 addresses. So I can just specify if I want an IPv4 task or an IPv6 task, and then I'll have to select the subnets that I want to be scanned, and I'll have to set the period at which I want them to be scanned. And once I do that, it gets added to your OpUrules console, and the OpUrules scans your network at the scheduled periods. So that's the scheduler. Now, how do you configure alerts? Under settings, we also have the configure alert option, and it has the predefined set of scenarios. Like we've discussed, you can see that I have scenarios where I can set the threshold for subnet utilization, such as 20% or below 30%, and so on. And I also have schedules for scenarios for IP address conflict detection. And once I enable them, I can also choose if I want to be alerted by email or by syslog or by both. And once I select that, you can configure the email to which you want the alert to be sent. And once you save, Opurals starts monitoring your network for the said scenarios. So that's with scheduling and alerts. And then we have the reporting option with Opurals. So what is the reporting module and how does it help you when it comes to managing your network resources? Well, Opurals gives you a number of reports under each module, such as the IP address manager, switchport mapper, and it has a predefined wide range of reports for each module. So these reports give you a detailed information of the tracked metrics so that you can have a clear idea of the network resource utilization trends. And you can also, these networks helps you to enhance the capacity planning by giving you a good idea of the resource utilization, and you can forecast how much more resources you need to buy and add into your network. Not just that, these reports can be easily scheduled using the scheduler option available, and it gives you a complete customization of schedules as usual. So let me take you to the product and let's have a look into the reports, a quick look into the reports. So as you can see, I'm inside the reporting module, and there are a number of reports. So I can just click on one of the reports that I want to view, and I can see reports like the IP usage summary, and it is also subnet specified, or if I want to have an IP view of the IP usage summary. Now there are two options. I can either download these reports then and there using the export to PDF or export to CSV options, or I can just schedule these reports to be sent to a particular mail at a particular time. Opurals helps you to make this whole reporting process a lot more easier by giving you the flexibility of how you want to view your reports. Also, Opurals has the audit reports, which tells you the changes made to your Opurals console and who made the changes. So this is just a gist of the reports that are available with Opurals, and Opurals also offers much more features than this. For example, you have the user management feature, which helps you to set up or add multiple users to your Opurals, assign roles to them, and it also helps you set up, the role-based access control. For example, right now I just have me, that is the administrator, who's having the access to Opurals. But if you have more members in your team, you can easily add them using the add user option, and you can create passwords and usernames for them. And once you've done that, you can also assign roles to these users so they have access to the preset resource management capabilities of Opurals. So there is much more to Opurals than what we've just covered in our training. So if you want to know more, as I said earlier, you can set up a free demo with our product experts. So let's move on to the integrated mobile app that is available with Opurals. So the integrated mobile app of Opurals comes in both the iOS and the Android version. So once you've downloaded and set up an Opurals console in your network, you can download the Opurals mobile app and integrate it with your on-premise deployment, and you can enable network monitoring on the go. So if you want to know more about this mobile app, I've added the URL at the bottom of the presentation, which we'll be sending to you at the end of the free training. So you can check out that URL and know more about the Opurals mobile app. So that brings us to the end of today's training, and let's have a quick look into all the topics and all the modules we've discussed today. Starting with the question, what do you get out of OPUDLs? First off, it simplifies IP address management. Be it a network that uses just IPv4 or just IPv6 or both, OPUDLs help you simplify the whole process of IP address management with advanced IP scanning, IP address tracking, and more. It helps you automate the process of IP scanning with scan schedulers. It also offers you multiple reports, and it also alerts you in case of an emerging issue with your IP addresses in the network. Secondly, with the switchport mapper module, you can visualize the end-to-end switchport mapping. So no matter how many switches you have in your network, you can easily add them to your OPUDLs console, group them, and visualize the switchport connectivity. You can drill down to port level details with port snapshots, and you can also make use of the different reports available to understand the switchport utilization in your network. And then we have the rogue device detection module, which helps you to protect your network from intrusion. So you can easily have a list of all the new devices connecting to your network, filter them, authenticate the trusted devices, set a validity period for guest devices, and block rogue devices that are entering into your network. This way, you can secure your network from malicious agents trying to risk the security of your network. Then we have the tools for network monitoring and diagnosis, which we've seen is more than 30 plus network utility tools that comes inbuilt with OPUDLs. These tools help you to easily carry out day-to-day network tasks such as network diagnosis and so on. Then we have instant alerts and granular reports feature of OPUDLs that keeps you in the know of any emerging network issue, and it also helps you understand the network resource utilization trends, enhance capacity planning, and more. So OPUDLs gives you scan scheduling and automation options. So this way, the data collection and data update part becomes quite easy with OPUDLs, because all you have to do is set up a schedule and OPUDLs automatically trigger scans at the set period of time. Then we have the role-based access control, with which you can configure who can access your OPUDLs console and what level of access do these folks have to your OPUDLs console. Finally, we saw the integrated iOS and Android mobile app that OPUDLs offers you. So this app seamlessly integrates with your on-premise deployment, and you can have a complete control of your network on the go